thank you for coming to this fantastic setting of Crown Hall, Chicago. I know that the majority of you have been here today in the awards symposium that's been taking place, and you've seen the buildings and the lifetime achievement people that are being recognized this evening. So we want to get things started. We'll be doing the Lifetime Achievement Awards after the first course, and then the Best Tall Building Awards after the dinner. But first, I'd like to welcome up on stage CTBUH Chairman Tim Johnson from MBBJ Architects to give a welcome. Can you welcome Tim to the stage, please?
Thank you, Anthony. And again, welcome. Thank you, everyone, for coming out on this wonderful, blustery, windy, rainy evening in Chicago. Although, if you've been to this event before, this is pretty standard weather for this event. And as a Midwesterner, we all have thick skin, so I know we're all fine with it. But really, thank you for coming. Partly, I know myself, the pressures of time probably being the most challenging, but also just being here to support us and taking the time and in the investment to come here is much appreciated. I know you all have other things that are pulling at your coattails, and to be here is a real pleasure for us. You know, the way I always see this event, as Anthony talked, it's our awards dinner, but it's also for us to celebrate the council. And as most of you, I'm sure, do go to events this time of year, it's really about a celebration of the accomplishments over the past year. And I think any of you that were at the event in Shanghai a few weeks ago, the Congress, I think I have not heard one word about people not enjoying their time there. It was an unbelievably successful event, and we're very excited that it came together as well as it did. Second of all, I'm incredibly pleased also to announce that literally since February 2006, there has not been a month that the council has not increased membership. And I think that's really, again, a testament to the mission of the council, all of you members that are out there doing not only the work, but doing the connecting to people around the world. We're truly becoming a global organization. Certainly the event in Shanghai proves that is moving well along and is very successful. You know, the other thing, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, is a few years ago at the trustees meeting, we endeavored to go off and do research that would be sponsored and even conducted in some way, shape, or form by the council. And we've made some major traction on this year. And if you're in Shanghai, you know what I'm talking about. We're gonna talk about that a little bit more later with the major grant that we received. Also this year, if you haven't already taken a look at, or if you haven't received it, please take a look at our natural ventilation and outrigger guides. Both of these are put together or launched this year. It's again, the content that the council releases every year is a major part of what we do and a major part of the sponsorship that you give us in terms of what we produce. So that was a fantastic outcome for this year. And we have upcoming ones that are on their way out the door here shortly. One more thing, actually, one of the comments that's been asked me a few times is, we're in Shanghai and now we're in Chicago, and as you know, we're planning the event in London, which is in June, and we hope to see many of you there. I think the goal of serving you as our members with various events around the world, with different topics, with different basis behind them, has been part of our goal, and I hope to see most of you there. But it's not as if you have to come to every council event. I think some people were agonizing over that a little bit just because of the time difference in between. But I think this is something that we're well in the throes of planning, and I think it's going to be a fantastic conference in London. So just in summary, again, we really appreciate your being here, the fact that you support the council and all the great things that we're doing. I think we're making a tremendous amount of progress, and look forward to congratulating our award winners tonight with all of you. Thank you.
Okay, there's one more welcome, and then we can get on with the dinner. Those of you that were in attendance here last year will remember as part of the evening, we brought someone up on the stage who'd been pretty important in the support of the council, bringing the council here to IIT 7 years ago and supporting the council in the time since then. And that was Dean Donna Robertson, who had chosen to step down as the dean of this college after many years. It's great that a year later, I'm now able to invite onto stage the new dean of the College of Architecture, a world-respected architect from Holland, Mr. Viel Arets, and hopefully Viel's going to tell us a little bit about the future of the college and also his thoughts on tall buildings. So could you please welcome up to stage Viel Arets?
Thank you very much, Tony. It's a great pleasure for us, IIT, College of Architecture, to host the Council on Tall Buildings and Urban Habitat as a partner in our evolution. I would like to welcome all of you to Crown Hall and say congratulations to CTBUH on another great symposium today, and congratulations to this event award recipients. IIT has a reputation in innovation, tall buildings, design, going back to the 50s, I would say, Mies van der Rohe. It's one of the few schools, IIT, few schools of architecture globally that is recognized as a center for tall building, design and research, which is what brought CTBUH to be based here 8 years ago, as Tony just said. I would say it's one of the few schools of architecture globally that convenes numerous studios and seminars focused on tall buildings every semester. And that's something we would like to enlarge. Tall buildings are part of the college DNA. A large part of the college plans for the future are to build on that and to develop it further to embrace all aspects of the future of sustainable cities. We know that our metropolises all over the world will challenge all of us. The CTBUH is very important to the college in this future focus. And I'm very pleased to announce this evening that, together with CTBUH, we will be establishing a research center for sustainable vertical urbanism. This center will involve both teaching, excellence, and significant research. And we are pleased to announce the first funded research project courtesy of ArcelorMittal, who are in attendance tonight. ArcelorMittal is kindly sponsoring $300,000 for a 2-year research project investigating the life cycle embodied energy implication of tall buildings. And I would like you to join me in thanking ArcelorMittal for this support. I think there is a big challenge here at IIT and the surrounding area to develop this area we are in. Besides IIT, a lot of people could work and live in this condition. By densifying areas like this could be all over for the next 10 or 15 years to develop a new condition in the city of Chicago. But of course, IIT needs to have a debate with the city of Chicago and metropolis all over. I think we should not only have debates in America, but having debates internationally. One of the important things we did at the Berlage Institute Laboratory for Architecture in the Netherlands, and what I learned personally from Elvin Boyarsky at the AA in London, is that you have to bring the world into your house, into your school, into your institute. We need to challenge debate and stimulate research. Yes, we have to publish and spread our thoughts. At IIT College of Architecture, we are not only inviting architects and engineers, but we are also inviting philosophers, artists, writers, entrepreneurs, etc. In that sense, I would also like to challenge all of you in this room to think now and how you can get involved, yourself and your companies, in this, I would say, exciting new chapter for the College of Architecture, through both education, research, and help us to set an agenda for advancing sustainable vertical urbanism in the future to come. And I was asked by Tony and Tim to declare the dinner for open, and I will be getting back to you after the first course to present this year's Lifetime Achievement Fellow Awards. Thank you very much and have a great night.
So I'd like to start, this is, as Anthony said, this is a moment where we're going to recognize the 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards and also introduction of new fellows to the Council. And if you were at the symposium today and heard Helmut Jahn speak, I can remember back, if you were a student back in the late 80s or early 90s, we were all over trying to understand Helmut Jahn. In fact, the first project that I walked through of Helmut's was his government center here in Chicago, which completely blew me away, partly because the formal gesture that makes at the corner is totally unexpected and really in some ways puts the rest of the city in that area, which is very grid-like, into question. Well, then you walk in the door and the whole building's hollow. And it was just this kind of one after another, even the color of the building I remember. And certainly traveling around the world, a lot of Helmut's buildings are buildings that we still look at and admire. I think one of the things that struck me in the presentation this morning was the tremendous breadth of the work. And certainly for a Lifetime Achievement Award, that's an incredibly important part of this. But the 2 things that really hit home for me was when Helmut was talking about how important the human condition is within these buildings. And I think as we think about these buildings that are just soaring ever taller and taller, we often forget about the people inside. But that was a point that was made over and over again in terms of how people would feel comfortable in these buildings. The other thing that was amazing, and this was pre-LEED, pre-green buildings, this constant attention to detail of how to make the buildings more sustainable, more energy efficient, more naturally ventilated, and again, it all goes back to the human condition. It's a real pleasure for me to congratulate and welcome on the stage this year's winner of the Lynn S. Beedle Lifetime Achievement Award, Helmut Jahn.
Well, everybody who heard me this morning knows that I sounded bad, but I'm sure I sound worse now. I will try to express, obviously in a moment like this you have a lot of different thoughts. First, I'm very grateful and thank the Council, the Board of Directors for giving me this award. I guess since we finished finally 300 plus meter building in Guangzhou, I qualified for it. But I take this award, like I do so many things, is not as an achievement I should sit on, but as an achievement I will build on. And the future always bears things which we don't know about. And as I said this morning, it's not how we imagine the future, but how we create it. Let's go back. I think it's 46 years. 46 years ago, I was sitting on that corner of Crown Hall, a graduate student. And I was lucky enough to work with some of the best professionals which existed then. I chose as my thesis not so much to do tall buildings, because how can you, when you're 26 years old, do a tall building, but to study tall buildings? And my advisors were nobody else than Myron Goldsmith and Fazlur Khan. You couldn't be any luckier than that. And this was the time that Hancock started construction. So I learned a lot about that. In a tenacious way, I got information about the World Trade Center, and the other tall building was the Toronto Dominion Center. And the endeavor was to compare these buildings, the different structural systems, where they were innovative, how much pound per square foot they weighed, you know, and Faz was always so happy that the Hancock weighed only 37 pounds and the World Trade Center weighed 55 pounds. You know, what a crime! You know. No, but so it was about innovation, about doing it better. We developed some concepts. I actually didn't finish my thesis because this was the other piece of luck. Because at that time, Gene Summers, who left the Mies' office, called me and asked me to work for him. And I talked to George Stanford, that time the dean, and I said, I'm kind of bored here. And he said, you should work part-time. Well, I'm still in a leave of absence. So here we are, 26 years later, 46 years later. Forgot about how old I am. and it's a different time. We're doing buildings which are so much taller. Are they really better? No. Is really height the only thing which determines the quality of the building? And even about height, as you know, there are very contentious discussions about what you stick on top of it and whether it's part of the building, not part of the building. No. And some of the buildings, like the Sears Tower, is probably still the tallest building in the world when, in terms of that, somebody can actually be on the top floor and you don't have 150 glass enclosed or technical spire. I mean, when the Hancock was built, it was an interesting story. They had two buildings, and they were sure that they were going to acquire that very venerable old casino club. They just thought they could pay enough money and they would sell it, but they didn't sell it. And Bruce Graham had the idea, then we got to put this thing on top of it. And for me, the Hancock is not only the best building in Chicago, but it's probably the best multi-use building still which exists in the world. 45, 46 years ago, designed even longer than that. So what I think, trying to say, and this is my own opinion, we should go away tonight as architects and engineers, and some of the best ones are here, to refocus on how we can be innovative, how we can do new things, how we can fight sometimes the development interests and further the interests of architecture and engineering and create a better environment. Thank you.
I agree. That's a well-deserved ovation. So any of you that weren't at the symposium this afternoon, I hate to make you a bit envious, but I just found it really inspiring, all the discussion and the personal interaction of the presentations between the developers, the architects, the engineers. And we concluded the day with the next award winners of the Fazlur R. Khan Lifetime Achievement Medal. Listening to Charlie and Richard co-present a number of their projects. And I think a lot of us in this room have had the joy and the honor of working with them. And I think actually Anthony said it well in the discussion, that this was the first time that the council actually gave an award, the Lifetime Achievement Award, to two people. But as we know in this industry, it's not one person, it's not two people, it's 10, it's 12, it's 100 that at the end of the day are responsible for doing these projects. And we all know that over the years, both Charlie Thornton, Richard Tomasetti have been out there blazing a trail for all of us to learn from. And if you've read Steve Jobs' book, he talks about innovation versus invention. Invention is something that you come up with that's just totally unusual, and sometimes it's not that applicable. Innovation is when you take things that are out there, put them together and recombine them. I thought it was really telling how Richard showed the diagram of Fazlur Khan, obviously the award that you're receiving, and how there was so much to learn from that, and how over the years, given the certain tasks that they were involved with, how they applied those different principles. And I think what's amazing even today, as they've handed off their firm to their next generation of leaders, how they continue to be involved in the industry. They continue to be involved in not only teaching, but in charitable events. And I think this is a very fitting group of gentlemen that are receiving this award. So please welcome to the stage and congratulate the winners of this year's Fazlur R. Khan Lifetime Achievement Medal, Charlie Thornton, Richard Tomasetti.
Helmut, I want to thank you for a fabulous speech. Wonderful, okay? And I want to make tribute to low-rise buildings. There's more to life than high-rise buildings. Chicago Board of Trade Edition, Northwestern Atrium, United Terminal. Some of the best projects that Thornton Tomasetti ever did were all done with Helmut, Martin Wolf, and a whole bunch of other stars at Murphy-On. Helmut, you are great. And we were sort of coming along, as we said earlier on, and getting involved in tall buildings. And we did a whole bunch of them, and Richard and I think, did a pretty good job of explaining how we did them. And but you know, I think that tonight, Council on Tall Buildings and Urban Habitat, the two achievement awards going to Helmut, Jahn, and Richard and me show collaboration and the way to move forward. So thank you very much. Richard.
I knew I shouldn't have let him go first. I have nothing to say now. I was going to talk about the Chicago Board of Trade. Congratulations also, obviously, to Helmut. And if I could just think a little bit about the name of Helmut's award, Lynn Beedle. I'm just reminded tonight not only of our admiration for Fazlur Khan, but as a young man, Lynn Beedle was also one of my heroes. And my first exposure to this council, I think I was 27 years old. You can't even remember that. Okay? And I gave a talk at a conference that Lynn Beedle was running on research needs in engineering and architecture in the building industry. And I think that is a very prescient moment, not my talk, but what Lynn Beedle was trying to do, which set the stage for so much of what the council does and has been doing throughout the years. Because we are starting to see a time where we do spend some time on research, we do spend some time on development, doing things that can apply to many, many other projects. So I just wanted to mention that because of my fondness of with Lynn for many years. He was definitely one of my mentors. And I want to thank the council, and thank you, Timothy and Anthony, and the jury, and the everybody in the board of directors who determine who these awards should go to. And just one more thing. I am always so excited about this dinner. The first time I came to it, I ran to the side and I called my wife and I said, can you imagine we're having a dinner with all of these adult people in our industry, and we're surrounded by this energy of all these young people doing charrettes on architectural projects. So I commend you for doing this every year, and thank you very much for this award.
All right, so as you know, every year we enlist new fellows, people that have contributed substantially to the council over the many years. And this year is no exception. We have 3 inductees into our fellowship. And just to remind everyone, a CTBUH fellow are recognized for their contribution to the council over an extended period of time, and in recognition of their work and the sharing of their knowledge in the design and construction of tall buildings in the urban habitat. The first fellow for this year is Nick Billotti. You all know Nick. Nick's the president and chief executive officer of Turner International. So all of us that are running around the world, Nick probably has the most frequent flyer miles in the room. But Nick certainly has been influential in the industry. He's been a huge supporter of the council for many years, and he's worked in countries throughout the world, and certainly is very deserving of this award. Unfortunately, Nick was speaking at another event tonight. I'm actually not even sure where he is. And we have another gentleman who is going to come up on Nick's behalf to accept his award. So please welcome John Braley from Turner.
Certainly, I'm honored to accept this award on behalf of Nick Billotti and Turner. Nick asked me to read a short message to you, his fellow colleagues. He wishes he could be here. He says, I'm grateful to be receiving this accolade, which he accepts as a representative of the efforts of so many at Turner over the years, from Taiwan to Dubai. And I regret deeply that I'm unable to attend the event in person this evening to acknowledge my inclusion as a fellow at the Council of Tall Buildings and Urban Habitat. It's certainly been my privilege over the years to attend and participate in many of the Council's programs, including Australia, New York, Dubai, and here in Chicago. My support over the years has been based upon the unique opportunity that the Council offers for leaders in building development, design, and construction. So I wish to congratulate my fellow fellows, as it were, and thank you in specific to the Council, Tim and Anthony particularly, and I appreciate all of your support and look forward to seeing you at the next Council meeting. Thank you.
Okay, our next fellow is, in fact, if I think back to my first Council event and everyone after that, there's one person I can guarantee I've seen at every event, and that's George Binder. George started working in the real estate arm of the financial AG group, now Fortis. He eventually founded Buildings and Data, of which he's the managing director. Buildings and Data is specialized in marketing and research studies in architecture and real estate. And George has actively been involved in the council for over 20 years. He served as the CTBUH country representative for Belgium since 2009. He's on the advisory board. He's been on the Height Committee from 1994 to 98, and is the editor of a book you all know, I'm sure, is the 101 Tallest Buildings book, which was published in 2006. So I'd like you to help me welcome George Binder to the stage, please.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to thank you all. First, the board of the council, and I guess Anthony and Tim, and maybe others that I'm not aware of. I feel a bit weird to be in front of such an audience because actually I'm the only one that never did anything. You are a builder, you are doing things. I'm just an observer, I may say, and I'm trying to learn about what to do and to try to forward the information. And maybe coming from Belgium, our former king, King Baudouin, used to say that he didn't have children, so he could love all other children. And I would say I didn't do any building, and probably that allows me to like all the projects that you do and to show empathy to projects that maybe you don't like. But for me, any project is of interest, and that's why some knows about it and the others they don't. That's why I like to collect information about all the buildings, and the more the best. And I don't think I have anything to add, but thank you again for giving me the opportunity to be in front of you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
One last fellow. There's a bit of a theme, I think you can tell. Nick Billotti around the world, George Binder from Belgium. And our next fellow, Jim Robinson, who actually is a Chicago native, went to school at Iowa State, just a state away, but actually packed his bags in 1978 and moved to Hong Kong, and has been there ever since. And one of the things that has been interesting about Jim over the years, if you've been to any of the Hong Kong land projects, Shader Road, Raffles Quay, One Raffles Quay in Singapore, MBFC, these are projects that to me are at the highest level of craft and quality in the commercial sector. Jim, of course, works for Hong Kong Land. He's both has an architecture, or he's an architect and an engineer. So the fact that there's a person out there in the industry that took the expertise, moved into Asia, and I think has been doing some of the finest buildings in that part of the world is incredibly significant. I'm actually a bit envious. Hong Kong Land has been a huge supporter of the council since 1991. Jim has been involved. In fact, I can't tell you how many conferences I've been to, and I look out there and there's Jim in the audience. So Jim's always at the conferences and congresses. And I'd like you to help me welcome Jim Robinson as a new fellow to the council.
I'm really standing here on behalf of a gentleman who hired me in 1988 with Hong Kong Land, Mike Arnold. Over many years, he tried to teach me English. He failed badly, and that's why I like coming back to Chicago once in a while so I can work on my Midwestern twang. But Mike was approached by Lynn Beedle in the early 90s, and Lynn was looking for companies that could expand the reach of the CTBUH. Hong Kong Land, of course, became a patron and has been a supporter of the council for many, many years. When I took over from Mike in 2002, Mike told me when he handed the keys of his office to myself, he said, "Jim, you better damn well get involved with the CTBUH because it's a great organization." And I think I've lived up to that. Hong Kong Land has been buying land and developing buildings in Hong Kong and Asia for 125 years. Many of you around here I've worked with. I'm meeting new friends every time I come back to the conferences. I'm a bit like Helmut. My voice is going because I just flew in yesterday. But CTBUH is very, very special. Hong Kong Land has been trying to build tall buildings in Asia for 125 years. We always seem to be a little bit smaller than some of our neighbors, whether it's in Hong Kong or Singapore or Beijing or Vietnam. But we also think that we try very, very hard to help the built environment at ground level. We're quite well known for our footbridge system in Hong Kong, and I think we helped to develop the underground system in Singapore with our One Raffles Link project, which then developed with One Raffles Quay and the MBFC Center, which links with the Marina Bay Sands. So on behalf of Hong Kong Land, Mike Arnold, and all of our colleagues and all of the consultants that have worked for us for all of these years, thank you very much.
Okay, I have one last point I want to make. In fact, a few years ago, we, as we became a little bit more legitimate as an organization, became a not-for-profit, we established a board of trustees. And the board of trustees has a very specific role, certainly not a day-to-day role. It's a voluntary role. It's a role to basically set the strategy and the vision for our organization, and also to govern and to keep tabs on this not-for-profit, if you will. It's our obligation to do that. And as we picked trustees, we have an intent to keep moving trustees through to get new ideas, fresh ideas. And just this past meeting that we had in Shanghai, one of our members is stepping down, and he's here tonight. And I just wanted to acknowledge Peter Irwin for all of his contribution, not only as a trustee, but also certainly the work that Peter's done within the council and with many of you in the industry over the many years. So I'd just like to have Peter Irwin stand up and for us to acknowledge his role with the Council on Tall Buildings.
Okay, we're now going to move on to the recognition of the best tall buildings in the 4 regions of the world. And we're going to start with the awards chair, Rick Cook, who's going to come up and tell you a little bit more about the awards process. And everyone's had a few drinks, so he might even give you a little bit of gossip on some of the things that went on. Can we welcome Rick to the stage, please?
Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate that you're all here. It's an amazing collaborative art, this idea of making buildings that change our cities and change the places that our children and our grandchildren will grow up in. I was actually very grateful to be here for the presentations. It's, as I said earlier today, it's very soul-searching to be a designer and have this finite period of time to look at this work that many of us work for years on and pour our hearts into, and to stop and try to do it intelligently. Take the time to really look at the work and honor the work that needs to be honored is a challenging experience. And today it was really interesting to see the presentations, and I want to thank all of you who gave the presentations today. A couple of things came up. Some of the themes that came up is that we decided that we really wanted to focus in on the unique challenges of the very tall building. I have a personal bias towards, as we build taller and taller buildings in more dense cities, we simply need to have people more connected to nature for the quality of life. I think that we have an innate need to connect with nature, and that's my personal bias. And this is about a quality of life for the spaces that we create for people. And one of the things that was in particular encouraging this year is that the work was very specific and context-based. One of the things that happened was that for the very first time, the winners of the Asia and Australasia category is from Australia for the beautiful One Bligh Street project. And the winner from Europe was from Italy, both of which were first time. And for me personally, the Italian connection was interesting. Being an American kid from upstate New York in the suburbs, I really viewed cities as a place where the buildings were closer together and taller. And I didn't understand that you could truly and deeply love a city. I understood that you could love your sports team from a place, you could love a piece of music, you could love a painting, you could love a sculpture. But living in Italy for a year really taught me that you could love a city, you could love the space, you could love the way a whole culture works. And it was very encouraging to have an Italian project win this year. I wanted to stop and also thank the jurors. This year, the awards committee members were Vishan Chakrabarti from Shop Architects, Robert Pratt from Tishman Speyer, Werner Sobek Group, David Scott from Lang O'Rourke, Chris Wilkinson from Wilkinson Iyer, and Anthony Wood. And I think this idea about context-based design became extremely important. We're no longer talking about an international style that's applied any place where we work, but really trying to understand the specifics of place and generating form-based design based on that place. So the quick statement is this year's submissions represented a remarkably varied body of exemplary architecture rising around the world. These towers reflect the progress we're making globally in designing buildings that perpetuate context-based design. My hope is that this trend of designing culturally specific and place-based buildings continues while promoting and improving both the world's urban centers and the health and well-being of its people. Okay, so on to the awards. I have the honor of acknowledging the Innovation Award to Bahar Towers. And one of the ideas behind the Innovation Award is that we are not, one of the speakers talked about the difference between innovation and invention. And many of us as architects, developers, and engineers is we're really innovators. We take an existing body of work, an existing body of technologies, and we weave them together in a new way. We simply need the thought leaders, the projects that push the envelope, that can change the dialogue about whether it can and can't be done. And this year, we have a new category called the Innovation Awards, and that was won by Bahar Towers. The jury said about this project, this year, Abu Dhabi's Bahar Towers were awarded the Innovation Award, an award which recognizes a specific area of recent innovation that has been incorporated in the design, construction, or operation of a tall building. Demonstrating technological innovation and site-specific concerns to reduce solar heat gain, the Bahar Tower incorporates a facade of umbrella-like mechanisms that open and close in response to the movement of the sun. The design of this element draws from the Islamic Mishrabiyya, a lattice screen that is used both for shading and privacy. Active skin technologies which act and interact with the environment will become an innovation that all of us as designers and builders will need to consider deeply in the future. So if I could please ask the team from Bahar Towers to come up. Omar Aliquat and the Abu Dhabi Investment Council to say a few words on behalf of the team. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for those kind words, and I have to say that winning this award means a great deal to us as a team. So a big thank you to CTBUH and for its encouragement of innovation. I think we all know that innovation in our industry can be sometimes very difficult to achieve, and the more encouragement we have from organizations like CTBUH, the better. I'd also like to thank CTBUH for the second citation that we've received from them this year. I haven't had the opportunity to do that yet, but we were very pleased when we discovered that our building had been included in the list of innovative 20 tall buildings that challenge the typology of tall buildings around the world. Not because any of us want to proselytize on the merits of dynamic facades, but I think we all recognize the need to do things differently, particularly in the region in which this building is located. I notice it's not been customary to thank all and sundry in this evening's presentations, and I don't particularly want to thank everybody that's been involved in the project because there have been too many, obviously, but there are two other gentlemen that have been very involved in this project that have flown from London tonight, and I would just like to recognize them here this evening, one of whom is Tim Casey, who was responsible for the MEP installations and design, and the other is John Lyle, a specialist engineer from Arups, who's responsible for their dynamic structures. Thank you for them. I mentioned during our presentation earlier another gentleman whose name is Abdul Majid Karanu. It was he who was responsible for the original concept of the umbrella that you see. He's a young Lebanese architect, and it seems entirely appropriate that it should be someone from the region that actually came up with this specific idea. And there's a further person who will probably never hear what I'm about to say, but his name is Peter Chudin. He's a 70-year-old engineer. He used to work with Schmidlin, the facade engineers, and had it not been for his dedication and perseverance on behalf of Uanda, I'm quite confident we wouldn't have had as smooth a ride as we have to deliver what is an innovative solution. So thank you very much. It means a great deal to us. Thank you.
Wow, this is great. It's a bit like being at the Oscars. Not that I've been there before, but I'm sure this is what it feels like. You know, when we started 4 years ago, I didn't have the remotest inkling that we would end up here. And the fact that we have, I would like to thank the Council for recognizing and honoring our project. I would also like to thank our senior management who chose the most complicated of the 4 designs that were presented to them. I guess their choice reflected their foresight at that early stage. They had the ability to look through the design and visualize how unique and stunning the end result would be. Of course, I would also like to thank Adis, Arab, and the whole design team for coming up with such an innovative design. And Peter, you're going to hate me for this, but finally, and in advance, I would like to thank our maintenance teams who are going to have one fine job trying to keep the 2098 Mashrabiyas clean and shining and working throughout the year. So thank you very much.
I just wanted to mention, and it's been a theme that we've come back to several times today, we're honouring the winners tonight, but in each category there's also a whole bunch of finalists. And having sat on the jury for 6 years, I can tell you that, you know, in another year, the finalists would have won. And in this particular category, the Innovation Award, which we've just seen the winner, it's the first year we've done this award. But if you look in the book at some of the other projects that were in the running for the Innovation Award, it includes a pair of twin towers in Japan that were demolished from the bottom up. You know, if you think about demolition of a tower, boom, or, you know, taken from the top down, there's actually an innovative demolition system where they take it apart from the ground floor up. So they jack the building up, take away a floor, drop it down, drop it down, drop it down. If you look in the book that you're going to get later, you will see this fantastic set of images where the top of the building slowly disappears. It happened a lot faster, with a lot less environmental degradation. And so this Innovation Award we see as being really quite important. It's not necessarily honouring a building overall, but it's honouring an innovation within the award. Sorry, within the building. So we hope that this is going to encourage you all to submit your projects and consider them in a different way, not necessarily in a holistic sense like the best tall buildings are, but single innovations in the building, whether that's skin or services or structure or other things that we've mentioned. Okay, now we move on to the best tall buildings overall. This was mentioned earlier today, but in 2006 we held a conference called Tapered, Tilted, Twisted Towers. It was David Scott's idea, who's not here tonight. I'd been executive director for 2 weeks when we held that conference. It was held here at IIT, and we had projects from all around the world come and present. 2006 was a very different world to 2008 and 2009 when the economy crashed, and projects from all around the world came and presented on this idea of tapered, tilted, twisted, or as Jamie von Klemper at KPF said, tortured towers, you know, because some were going to quite extreme lengths. And one of the projects that I remember very clearly was the project that Yang Song Ma and Joe Cordiano from Citizen came and presented, which was the Absolute Towers up in Canada, in Toronto, in Mississauga. And I remember it distinctly because of its form, but I also remember afterwards having this conversation with other people in the council about the projects that were presented that day, and it seemed so daring. You know, at the time I remember Jeannie Gang coming and talking about Aqua. There were all projects from all around the world, and that one seemed so daring that, you know, we kind of felt that it didn't have much chance of actually coming to fruition, if I'm being honest. That was the tone of the conversation afterwards. And therefore, in the height of the recession, 2-3 years later, it was fantastic to see these towers, you know, rise up out of the ground in the way that they were originally intended, to come to fruition in the way that we saw in the presentation today. So it's my great pleasure to welcome up to stage to collect the award for the Best Tall Building Americas, the representative of the client, Joe Cordiano from Citizen Development, the architect Yang Song Ma, and also, I forgot to say this at the beginning, but we'd also welcome all members of the development team, the project team, to come up on stage and collect the award. So can you put your hands together for the Best Tall Building Americas?
Well, thank you very much, Anthony. We are enormously proud of this award. We want to thank the council. And, you know, Anthony, you were talking about the possibility of the council coming next year to our area of the world. And we would be delighted to host the event there. And I have to say we would support you 100%. I can recall that we started this project. You know, Danny, I don't know if you remember back in 2003. This was basically an empty field, and we looked at it, and Sam and I, my partner Sam Crignano's not here tonight, but I want to thank him for all his efforts as well. But we looked at that empty field, and I remember we plunked a little money down on deposit checks for that land, and we thought, well, where are we going from here? And, you know, almost 10 years later, here it is, the reality. That dream came true, that field of dreams. Here we are looking at this fabulous, fabulous building, and I want to just thank all of my partners and colleagues on stage for all their efforts. Thank you very much.
We're on to the best tall building, Asia and Australasia, for 1 Bligh Street. While not the tallest building on Sydney's skyline, 1 Bligh Street stands out for its many sustainability features, including a double-skin curtain wall and a naturally ventilated atrium. The building opens up significantly at the ground level, providing abundant public space and an open, airy feeling. The porosity of the ground floor helps to activate a business district that was once lackluster, replacing it with actively used public programs. At the heart of the building lies a dramatic atrium. Capitalizing on Sydney's mild climate, this full-height atrium, surrounding corridors and meeting spaces off of it are fully naturally ventilated. The atrium enhances visual communication for the building users and maximizes access to daylight and fresh air. Striking views of the harbor are amply provided at the 15th floor, winter garden, and roof levels, encouraging outdoor activity. And we are most pleased to give the award to 1 Bligh Street, and I'd like to ask the entire team to come up to the stage and accept the award. Thank you.
I'm not from Australia, but I feel like I should be. I run the US here for Dex's Property Group, and I was really honored when they said, you like architecture, Bruce, can you present it? You're the closest to Chicago. And I have to say that this building and the award, I want to thank the council, all the judges. It's really been an experience for me personally, but what really matters is that I think this award goes to the community, the business community, and all the workforce that enjoys Sydney so much. Australians are really proud. They're so far away, and we're here, and they feel disconnected, so they have this pride, and I know that this award will be received by the community well beyond just Dexis. And I want to, in particular, congratulate Ray Brown for his great efforts with Architectus. In Australia, we say, or they say, good on you, mate. Thank you. And Christoph Ingenhoven did a fine job, and the entire team, and I'm just really happy to say thank you to the group. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Bruce. I am from Australia, and the furthest from Chicago, and feeling a little bit more connected through being here tonight. So thank you. It was a wonderful project to participate in, and a wonderful collaboration with everybody at a very, very deep level, really connecting people and ideas across the world. And when we did this competition in 2006, it came together very quickly with a wonderful team. And thank you very much also, particularly to Christoph, for bringing a vision to this project that I don't think would have been possible without that external view. Thank you.
If I'm allowed to say something, I always like to mention that there are lots of cooperations around in the world between architects and engineers and clients and many supporters and consultants. There's one thing I would like to mention about that, because normally works have been done by foreign architects together with architects in charge, like local architects. And that is sometimes between the design architect and the local architect quite difficult relationship, right? And we prefer generally to be overall responsible for a project. And cause that is not possible if the project is far away, like 25 hours by plane. This collaboration with Ray and his team in Australia was a very special one. It was not just a design architect coming there and say what he wants to do, and the architect of record doing that. It was a collaboration from the very beginning on. It would have been not possible to deliver a building like that without him and his team, and without us, and without the client, and without everybody else. So it was a real collaboration, and at the very end, successful as we hope. Thank you.
Okay, now we move on to the best tall building in Europe. And by the way, the best tall building in Europe, I think, has won the worldwide award in the last 2 or 3 years. So Europe's done quite well out of these awards, even though it's not recognized for necessarily building certainly super tall towers. I said at the symposium today that the jury was really interested in this project, and Helmut made a comment in the symposium about the urban habitat and how that often gets overlooked. And my own perspective is that when you look at the plans of this building and you see this kind of leaf form, the curvilinear form, actually it looks a little bit like an alien has landed on the site. You know, and we discussed that amongst the jury. It doesn't necessarily in plan look like it fits into the urban grain. But for me, the presentation today clearly showed that it does. I mean, there's a richness there about the program of that building and the way that it creates both external space and internal space, and the way that that project is being used, that certainly when I saw that presentation today made me feel that we made the right decision amongst the jury in recognizing this project. So I'd like to invite up onto stage David Packer and Harry Cobb of Pay Cobb Freed, and anyone else in the project team to come up and collect the award, please.
Well, let me say just a few words after giving the floor to architect Harry Cobb, the persons who together with all the staff of the studio, Pay Cobb Freed and Partners, let this project earns this important award. As a member of the regional government of Lombardy, I am very, very proud to be here today, this evening, and to gain and to obtain this important award, because it is a symbol that a choice was a good choice. A choice of a public Italian and European institution to build a new building for public and administrative use. And in this period, that is not an easy period for Italy, for Europe, for Lombardy. This important award, I think that it is a symbol that gives us hope and gives us the strength to go ahead, and gives us other reason to go on with our project. I just would like to remind the aim of the project that we had in building Palazzo Lombardia, to establish a more efficient and cost-saving space for our public institution, but even to create a place for the city and for the region, a place to host exhibition, a place for artists, a place where citizens could meet the administration and could meet each other together. So thank you for this important award, and I also would like to thank all the people on behalf of the regional government, all the people that worked to finish in a very, very fast way this project. Thank you for your attention.
I'd just like to reiterate something that those of you who were at the symposium already heard from me this afternoon, and what I think you sense from what Mr. Packer just said, that everything comes from the aspirations of the client. And the aspirations that were expressed very clearly, very precisely in forming this project are fundamental. As architects, as engineers, as builders, we respond to the aspirations that come to us. We are thrilled by them. We are thrilled to respond to them. And but in the end, we need those aspirations to make anything worthwhile. Thank you.
And next we have the best tall building, Middle East and Africa. And this one was really a challenge for the jury. We actually got into a little bit of a heated debate. I personally struggled at first with this project. And the more that we looked at it, the more that we understood the project, and the more that we debated, why is this project appropriate here? And what does it do that's important? It was really interesting. There was actually it was a little contentious for a while. There was some of us who did not feel that this particular project should win, and it was the most interesting thing that it created a very lively debate back and forth amongst the jurors. And then at the end, there was a full consensus on this project as the overall winner. I think this one, maybe more than any other of the projects, accentuates this idea about a project that only makes sense in that particular place, in that particular culture at this time. And for me, the turning point was really that I find that these very tall buildings that we design often have a big letdown at the top. It's an object on the skyline, or you get there and it's a cooling tower and window washing equipment. And we very rarely have anything special at the top. And I think there's something aspirational about these tall buildings that we make. They're mountaintop experiences, and you want to actually experience the top of these buildings. And there are some buildings that have remarkable tops. Recently, the Empire State Building, the owners of the Empire State Building released the financial data on the building because they're selling it off as a REIT, and they released the data that the observation deck at the Empire State Building makes more net income, just the observation deck makes more net income than the entire rest of the building put together. So there's something that people are fascinated about these buildings that we make, and getting up to the top and having this mountaintop experience. So why in the world am I saying all of this? The turning point for me was when we really understood this building. We got to the top of the building and realized that at the very top of this building is this remarkable tent-like space at the top of the Doha Tower. It's not filled with cooling equipment. It is the Sheikh's personal volume of space at the very top. And when they showed these beautiful pictures, which was like this tent-like space up in the sky, and it was just mind-blowing. And so for me personally, that was a turning point. And I'll now read the jury statement. An interesting example of a tall building with a distinct connection to place is the Doha Tower on Qatar. After careful examination and interesting debate, the jury eventually came to appreciate Jean Nouvel's unapologetic solution to place-based design and the related iconography that was carefully woven into the building's modern sensibility. The facade incorporates an intricate geometric pattern connecting the building to the region's Islamic traditions and culture. Not since the Cloud Room at the Chrysler Building has a penthouse space felt so integrally tied to the design of a skyscraper as the tent-like dome penthouse at the top of the Doha Tower. And if you'd please welcome to the podium the entire team from the Doha Tower. Congratulations.
Good evening. As the only person who does drink alcohol in this particular team, I've been delegated to speak to you. And I hadn't assumed that that was going to be the case. I would like, first of all, to thank
Hassan and the client, Sheikh Saud Al Thani, for persevering with this remarkable building, for having the vision to go personally to Jean Nouvel and say, I want you to build this building for me, for keeping with that vision over a very long period of time, with many pitfalls that occurred, particularly during the construction phase of this project. It is a remarkable tribute to a client and an architect, and to Hafid, who has spent 7 years of his life on this building, to create something that is quite exceptional in the region, I believe. I'm only an engineer, but I am immensely proud to have worked on this particular building, and I believe it is one of it will become, to be seen, one of the very best buildings in the Middle East, if not the best. And so thank you to the CTBUH, thank you very much to Jean Nouvel, to Hafid, and to Hassan and Sheikh Saud Al Thani. Thank you.
I would like just to say 2 words. On behalf of Jean Nouvel, I would like to thank you very much for this prestigious award.
Okay, so I'm looking at the table and I just see 1 award left. However, just before we get on to the best overall worldwide, we've mentioned several times today about the finalist projects, and Rick kind of hinted at some of the gossip, and I've had a few drinks, so I will tell you that I've sat on the jury for 6 years and I have never been included, I've never been involved in a debate as intense on the awards jury as the debate that occurred in the Middle East category this year, in any category of any year's awards. And the debate went long and went fierce between the Doha Tower that we've just seen and Al Hamra Tower. And actually, you know, we talked about it on the jury, how to try and recognize both these awards, but ultimately we needed to decide one. And in a way that was a shame, because I think in any given year, both these projects would clearly have been a winner. I think they were both fantastic projects, and I hope you agree with me that the presentation of the Al Hamra project today was pretty exceptional in understanding that building. So I just would like to ask the Al Hamra team to just stand as recognition of their finalist status in that category, and I'd just like to give them a round of applause, please. Maybe next year we'll have more than 1 award in each category. Okay, now we move on to the final bit of the evening, which is the announcement of which of these 4 buildings has won the best overall worldwide award. And I'd like to invite back up to the stage to make that announcement the Dean of the College of Architecture, Mr. Villaretz.
Tony, I can't read your handwriting. So I think I deliberately choose one of these 4. Normally they do something like this. It's the Doha Tower.
I said, thank you very much. I am very happy to see you. I am very happy I come to United States here. And thank you very much for who's behind this Doha Tower. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's very difficult to be second time here. I did not expect to be here, but on behalf of Jean Nouvel, thank you very much.